Hello dear sinceres, so today we continue our journey through Pluto in Aquarius. Before we begin talking about all the transformations in this video, let's talk about Pluto and what its movements mean through the sky. Pluto is a very slow planet, and so its meaning in our charts are usually attributed more to a generational meaning, to us belonging to a generation of people, to a culture that was in a certain decade or a certain time frame. And so the places where this tiny planet Pluto passes in the zodiac kind of provokes many changes coming. And when we look at the generations and what they seem to have done in the previous one, kind of seems to be very different what the next generation does. Pluto is the planet of death and transformation. He destroys to bring in the new, and when he goes through a sign, we can see very big changes related to the zodiac sign he's occupying. And that the world seems to be swinging between kind of an early despair, this despair of destruction of something that they were accustomed to, the world was accustomed to, but that no longer seems to serve the world any longer. And also the birth of something new. And this birth of something new usually is brought about with celebration, but not always. With Pluto stepping into Aquarius, the zodiac sign, the zodiac air sign that represents rebellion, is a sign of changes, of revolutions, humanitarian causes, groups, future, progress, science, of networking, of divergence, of community, of authenticity, of eccentricity, of nonconformism, of doing things differently. We will see much of these themes in the next 20 years coming forward and taking center stage. Pluto is not considered a planet any longer, and it has been demoted to a dwarf planet. In 2006, when Ceres and Aries were discovered, and they are dwarf planets about the same size as Pluto and have a similar shape, this kind of caused astronomers to consider Pluto a dwarf planet and demoted it to that. Pluto is a planet in astrology connected with major shifts and connected to our shadow side, and it can be associated to the side of duality we call evil, that is connected with the vices, to the side of us that we deem toxic, whether it's from a psychological, worldly, mental, and even physical point of view. The previous cycle of Pluto in Aquarius, from 1778 to 1797, we saw many revolutions, including French Revolution, the Declaration of Independence, which was brought about as well from the American Revolution, and also Industrial Revolution, among many other changes around the world in different countries. Pluto will now enter Aquarius on March 23rd in this year of 2023 until June, where it will then go back to Capricorn on the 11th, and then returning to Aquarius on the 21st of January 2024 until the 2nd of September 2024, going back again to Capricorn, and then going back to Aquarius again on November 19th, 2024, when it will definitely stay in Aquarius for the next 20 years until 2044. When Pluto entered Aquarius for the first time now on the 23rd of March 2023, it entered where the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction took place in 2020, reactivating that degree and reactivating that conjunction. And if we were to make a time jump to 2044, the world might be quite unrecognizable to us, in the same way that our ancestors of 150 years ago would barely recognize the world we are living in currently. They would be amazed at how much technological development we've gone through and how much things have changed socially. Great Scott, Cynthia! Astro Duck! What are you doing here? I have built a television Astro time machine. I need to tell you about the future. Wait a minute, Astrodog. What do you mean you've built a TV time machine? What? You have a TV that can see into the future? Yes, I've built a television Astro time machine that can see into possible future timelines by connecting with many radio television waves of many different news channels from the future in many different time, space, temporal dimensions. What? Dog, that is intense. Yes, very intense. I thought that humanity has been walking this very dangerous path towards its own destruction. And if I could build a television time machine that can predict future potentials and ally it with astrology and AI, maybe we can see what can cause our destruction, what can bring about the death of humanity. We have Pluto just entered Aquarius, the sign of humanity. That represents humanity. And this is the planet of death and destruction. I needed to find out, is it now that we finally destroy ourselves? Or can we avoid it? Can we find a way to stop it? Are we going to be replaced by robots? Are we going to be replaced by AI? I needed to find out. And so I built this television Astro time machine so we can look into all future potentials and stop it before it's too late. Okay, dog, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It doesn't have to mean destruction. It doesn't have to mean death. Pluto can mean many things. It could mean transformation of humanity, transformation of our old beliefs. And if we are looking at potentials, then it could be that we are just looking at one potential that your machine is predicting. We can still choose, we can still have options. That's what you usually tell us. And if we choose differently, then our future will be different. I hope you are right, but I haven't told you everything yet. So, I put together the AI, astrology, and the Astro time machine connecting with the radio television waves from the future in all possible timelines, time-space directions. But it was amazing. It worked. It really worked. It worked! Well, that's great, dog. I think. Great Scott, Mother of God. But something really strange happened. I saw you. What do you mean you saw me? Dog, that makes no sense. You are seeing me here now. What do you mean? You saw me? No, not you from now. The you from the future. I saw the you from the future talking back to me. The me from the future? How is that possible? That's why I need you, so we can make sense of all of this. Wait, dog. Won't that create one of those things you told me? I think it was a time paradox that could completely unravel the fabric of time-space continuum and destroy the full universe, the whole world? As per my calculations, it shouldn't destroy the fabric of time-space continuum, because only if the you from the future and the you from the past are in the same time-space continuum, in the same location, and see one another, can this become a possibility, or you just faint. So it should be fine, I hope. That's a relief then. But it's still intriguing to me. How could you send me a message from the future to the past? How could you do that? I need to find that out. I don't know, dog. Maybe I've used your TV time machine from now. Maybe it exists in the future and I used it to send a message to the past. But how? This TV is only meant to connect with possible timelines from the future and combining with the television news of many different television stations around the world. Could this mean that there's no television in the future? Okay, Doc. Let's see then what I'm saying. Let's see what this message is about. Maybe there's something we should pay attention. Maybe there's something that we need to know so we can change the future. The actions we do in the present will affect completely the future we get to live. So, and astrology never really tells you what's going to happen for sure. It tells you what is potential that can happen, but we always have the possibility of changing what is coming and changing our actions and affecting our future differently. Yeah, let's have a look at what I said, or the me from the future said. Hello, Doc. This is the year 2044, and much has changed in the last 20 years. You might be wondering if this is really me or AI, but let's just say I used both to send you this message to the past. I wanted to give you a brief idea of the next 20 years because a lot has changed, but with a cost. Let me tell you first about the things that will excite you. We have flying cars, flying technology that is being used in cars, transport, sports, and even houses. Yes, we can have movable houses in the air, so it's much easier now. The city's landscapes are changing quite drastically, but more in our communities. We have super fast trains that can travel a country with the size of France in 15 minutes. We have also reached Mars and started to plan for a colony there. There is also talks for technology that can make teletransportation possible, like Star Trek. We have machines that heal most of the sicknesses of the past, like cancer, leukemia, in just minutes. Also, the beauty industry has changed tremendously. People now can stay and look younger for a much longer time and don't even look weird. Our computers are something that we can just open from a very tiny object like a ring, a nail, or a very small device. They all can also connect with AI. In fact, we have two types of AI, but more on that later. We also have holograms, and that has completely changed the movie industry, where now we get to take part of the movie, becoming a character of the movie instead of just watching it. We also use that and virtual reality in new modalities for mental health with psychology and psychotherapy, where you can actually use it in a method of therapy where you talk to people, someone who hurt you, a previous relationship that is not in front of you in reality. Now, for the rest of things, good and bad. I am part of a freedom community of people. I don't live in a city any longer. This is because cities have become an unnatural way of life, a digital prison, but also because in the early years of Pluto in Aquarius, it became more and more evident. The loss of power, the loss of freedom, the tackling down of people's freedom and power from the governments. We were losing freedoms by the day, and the governing powers were getting more and more greedy and controlling. There was an attempt to create a world government, where a small group of wealthy, very wealthy people wanted to dictate the lives of everyone else, of billions of people. In fact, many of the institutions that were meant to protect us took power from countries during wars, crises, pandemics, as a solution for peace, poverty, a solution for health and equality. But in fact, it was a coup to create a government that had no checks or balances. Many of us comprehended what was really going on, and so many of us, in spite of rebelling, in spite of protesting, in spite of making revolutions, also decided to form many communities around the globe where we plant our own natural food instead of having to eat the synthetic garbage from the cities that they tried to force us to eat. Many of us created our own city communities where we trade with each other, we help one another, we trade information, knowledge, we keep traditions and have an alternative that is in harmony with our souls, humanness and freedoms. In the cities, the only way to operate is with digital money or social credit systems that take all privacy away. There were also programs and places of employment that were making it mandatory to have a cheap implant, so that government has even more access to that person's life, because they also have access to their thoughts. and so that way are even more controlled. And they also have to be connected to the grid, which now is what you would say the AI. Well, it's a different name now. There's basically no freedom in such places, and in the cities. Cities are heavily controlled areas. We also had a few UFO sightings. Many of them I believe to be fake, because with the invention of many holograms and AI being able to fake so many events, but we actually believe, many of us in our communities at least, that we have really found extraterrestrials, in fact have direct contact with them, but not the way that you might think. Extraterrestrials are beings from other dimensions that intersect with our own dimension. These were the beings that in the past, in many religious lores, were called angels or guides. There are many different dimensions, but we have to see the difference in density of the reality that they occupy being different to our own density of reality. We discover that through a new science related to near-death experiences of many people who actually died and came back to tell us about it. And we also learned to communicate with these interdimensional beings and to astral travel. That was a key instrument in our movement for freedom, as we were able to communicate with higher entities, with these angels, and extract so much guidance, so much wisdom and divine power that allowed us to find solutions and a way out of the attempt at world dictatorship by part of the occult governments. Unfortunately, there were still many wars, crises, famine, pandemics, diseases, and situations in the 2020s that caused a lot of loss, death, and violence. We have incredible robots, but there were incidents too, where there were robots that were hacked and used to kill people, also used as a method to instill fear, so that many of us would bow down and relegate our freedoms to the totalitarian government. The good thing is that robots do free us to be able to live a more fulfilling life where we can be creative and just enjoy without actually becoming lazy. There are actually new sciences that have merged humans and robots. I don't mean just for health reasons like limb replacements or to health extension or healing. They are actually being used as a way to prolong the life of people. There are people that are actually a mix of robots and humans, some who accepted a brain implant, but also ended up becoming very controlled. They look like they have lost their souls. Also, we are aware that there has been experiments with cloning and in creating synthetic humans, much by the occult governments. They want to create life synthetically. One of the excuses was that the fertility rates around the world dropped quite significantly, and there are concerns with the extinction of humans, but not so much in our communities. We managed to escape the dictatorship that was trying to control all human life on Earth with the help of our interdimensional friends. And through them and the genius inspirations that we received from them, we were able to resolve many situations that we thought impossible, that we thought were hopeless, that we had no way out. But miraculous things were happening, miraculous solutions were appearing. We were being guided through the seemingly impossible crusade. Much of the consciousness is rising, and many of us don't even operate in the same level as before, because we see and understand more and more our spiritual nature. Our children are coming with a tremendous amount of wisdom and even solutions. They are quite the geniuses. We also discovered how to grow food in inhospitable areas using our spiritual and mental powers. I also mentioned I would talk about the two types of AI. One type of the AI controls the city and takes people's freedoms away. But also in our freedom communities, we were able to create our own AI that's actually been helping us and fighting against this dictatorship from the world governance. All this, Dr. Esther Brown, I hope can heed a warning, but also hope when you and the people of your time are going through the challenges of Pluto in Aquarius, which still brought a lot of death, destruction, a lot of famine, a lot of losses, a lot of crisis. And everything may look at times that there's no hope, there's no solution, that we can't get out of it. Just know that we were able to do that. We made it. We have created a way out. And if we can get to our glorious future without so much war, death, and destruction, then this message will have achieved its mission. As you say, Dr. Astor Brown, the future is what we make it, so make it a good one. May the cosmos and the stars be with you.